Hello everyone, welcome back to another lecture on the course Python Fundamentals Building Blocks for Aspiring Developers. So again, we'll continue with the first module, which is Introduction to Python, and we have reached day 3 of our agenda. Here we will talk about operators, arithmetic operators, comparison operators, logical operators, and some basic functions, print function and input function. So let's begin. So first is the operators. So operators are symbols to perform an operation on operands. It is exactly how you would do in mathematics. Like you add two numbers, so the operator or the symbol that you're using is the plus sign, and operands are the two numbers that you are adding. For example, if you look at the first example, 2 plus 3, plus is the operator that is going to add the two operands, which are 2 and 3. Okay, so these are just some terminologies. Now, Python offers us a lot of basic arithmetic operations that are already there in Python. These are addition, we use a plus sign, subtraction, we use a minus sign. For multiplication, we use an asterisk sign. For division, we use a forward slash. For modulus, we use a percentage sign. For exponentiation, we use a double asterisk, and for floor division, we use a double forward slash. So we all know about the first four. Let's talk about the modulus. So modulus operator gives us the remainder of the division. On the right side, you can see in the third example, 10 modulus 3. So if you divide 10 by 3, then it gives you a value of 9 and 1 is the remainder. So this operation will give you an output of 1, that is the remainder of a division. Similarly, if you look at the operation underneath that one, 4 double asterisk 2, that says 4 raised to the power of 2. So it says 4 with the power of 2, that is 4 squared. So this gives us a value of 16. If I say 4 double asterisk 3, so that means 4 cube. 4 raised to the power of 3, so that will be 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4. Then we have the floor division. So the last two examples are for the floor division. So the floor division, how it works is that it gives us, like, it divides, and if the answer is in points, in decimals, for example, if you divide 5 divided by 2, the answer should be 2.5. But when we use floor division, it rounds it to the lowest integer, not the highest, lowest integer every time. For example, if we say 5 divided by 2, the answer is 2.5. But if we use floor division, so it will give 2. It will round it to the lowest integer. It will not round 2.5 to 3. It will round 2.5 to 2. Similarly, if we look at the last example, 5 double slash 3, 5 divided by 3, according to floor division, the output is 2. Even though 5 divided by 3 is 1.67, is 2. It's 1.67. It will give us an output of the lower one. So now there are also some other operators. These are called conditional operators. So conditional operators are used to check two different values. They are used to compare two different values. So there's these 5-6 of them. First is the equal to operator. If we want to check that if two values are equal, it could be numbers, it could be strings or anything. If we want to check if both of them are equal or the same, we use double equal to. As in the first example, x double equal to y, it will check if x is equal to y, if the value of x is equals to the value of y. Then we have the second operator, not equal to, we use exclamation mark and equal to. For greater than and less than, we use the same mathematical symbols. And then we also can check greater than or equal to. It will check for two things. Either it is greater than or it is equal. It will check for both of these conditions. And similarly, less than and equal to is the opposite of the previous one. So for examples, if we have a look, we have three values. X is equals to 4, y has a value of 5, and z again has a value of 4. So for the first operator, we say we want to check if the value of x and y is equal, y are the same. We simply use x equal y. It will give us false because x and y have different values. Then we say if we want to check x is not equal to y, we want to check if both of them are different. So it will say that is true. X and y have different values. This statement is true. So this is why it gives us an answer of 2. Similarly, the other two examples, we can check which number is greater. And for the last example, we can check if it is equal to or greater than. We say either x is greater than or equal to the value of c. It says it is, from both of the conditions, it will check which one is true. Either it is greater than or equal to. If either one of them is correct, it will say that okay, this statement is true. For example, x is 4, z is 4. We say x is greater than equal to z. Yeah, that's correct because x is either the same value or greater. But if we say x is less than 4, that it will say no, it's not correct. Or if we say x is greater than z, it is also not correct because these are both the same values. And the final operator type we have are the logical operators. So these are basically used to check two different statements or two different comparisons. And there are three types of logical operators. These are AND, which means that both conditions are correct, OR, which means that either one of the condition is correct, and NOT is the opposite of equal to, like the equal to operator. We can also write it like this. So for the first example, we say we want to check if x is true and y is true. So let's say x has a value of true and y has a value of true, and we say like okay, both of them are true, and it says no, both of them are not true. Obviously we have to assign these values first, but we will go over these operators and have a look at them in our code. Now we have the print statement. We already discussed this one in the previous video because it was important that you understand this. Again, it's the same thing that we can print on the screen. We have to use a comma when we are using variables or different data types. We can even print more than one data type in the single print statement, but that has to be separated by a comma. And finally, for this lecture, we have the input statement. So why we use the input statement? We use it to get some value from the user. So the code is running, but it will perform something based on an input from the user. So that is why we use the input statement. The code will stop there where we have to get the input value. So you say, okay, here I have to get the input value. Code will keep on waiting until the user has entered the value. If the user takes 5 minutes, the code will wait for 5 minutes. If the user takes 2 minutes, the code will wait 2 minutes. This means that it will only move forward until the user has entered a value. And the default data type is the string. Now the syntax for this is that you store the input into a variable. So how you write an input? You say input, and in the parentheses you write the statement that you need for the input. And the value is stored in the variable called name. Now the variable name has the value whatever the user has entered, and we can then use that afterwards. Now if we want to ask the age of the user, we know that the default type is string, but we want the age to be an integer. We can then convert it to other data types. This follows the same concept as we discussed in the previous lecture, how to change different data types. So let's go ahead and start coding. So we will start with our previous code where we ended last time. So let's just remove everything. You can also create new files for each of them, but I'm just using the same file. So let's first start with arithmetic operations. We can even type it like this. We can say 12 plus 4 and it will be there. We can also do print 12 plus 4. So it will solve this and give us an output. So if I do this, run the code, it gives 16. It adds this. Okay. Now let's have x is equals to 4, y is equals to 3, and let's add some print statements to perform different operations. So we say x plus y, then we say print x minus y, then we say print x multiply by y. You see how I'm writing the asterisk in the case of multiplication. Then I say print x divide by y. I'm also adding a space in between like this and here, but you can also do it without a space like this. It won't be a problem. I'm just adding the space in between to make it more readable, and this space is fine according to the syntax. Then we can do an exponential. So we say x double asterisk y, so 4 raised to the power of 3. Then we say print, and this time what we want to do is we want to do the modulus x modulus 3, and finally the last one that we did was floor division. So we do x divided by y. So we have this 5-6 operations. Let's run the code, control and F5. So you see the first one is the addition, this one, second one is the subtraction, third one is the multiplication. Now fourth one is a division. X divided by y is 1.33, and this one is the exponential. So we say x 4 raised to the power of y, which is 3, so it says 4 cube, which is 64. Then we have this modulus. So you see here, so what modulus does is that it removes this decimals, so it will always round this to the lower integer. So it rounds 1.333 to 1. We can also check it with other values. So let's say 5 divided by 3, and let's just do this here, 5 divided by 3 2. So you can have a look, and we run the code again. So in this line, 5 divided by 3 gives us a value of 1.6667, and this line here, 5 modulus 3, gives a value of 2, which is the remainder of 5 divided by 3, and this value here is the floor division. So it just rounds this one to the lowest integer, which is 1. It does not round it up to 2. So this is how different arithmetic operations can be performed. So now let's just delete all of these and let's move to the conditional ones. So for the conditional ones, let's say we want to do print x equals y. We want to see if the value of x equals y. Let's say z equals 4, and we say print x equals z, and let's run. So it says this first condition is false, like x is not equal to y, so it says false. But this condition is correct because value of x is equals to the value of z, which is 4, so it says true. Similarly, we can also do this, check if x is not equal to y. Now what should it print? It should print true. We say x is not equal to y. Is this statement correct? It says yes, it is correct. X is not equal to y. So this is why it says true. Okay. You can also do other ones. We say x is greater than y. So let's say this, and it says true. Yes, value of x is greater than the value of y. That is true. Now for this one, let's say x is greater than equal to z. So it says yes, x is greater than or equal to z. But if we remove this equal to sign and run the code, then it says false. X is not greater than z. These both are equal. So we have to put this sign if we are to compare them for greater than or equal to. So this is how you can make use of these when comparing different variables. And the final one that we have are the logical operators. So these are these three. So I will just write them here as comment. One is the AND, the one is OR, and the other one is NOT. So let's say print, and in this one I will say x equals z, and x equals y. So you see I am doing two comparisons. So let me make it to and here. Okay. So it should first check this statement and check this statement and see if both of them are correct or not. So if I run it, it says false. No, both of them are not correct. Both of them has to be correct when we are using AND. This statement is not correct because x is not equal to y. But if we say x is greater than equal to y, then let's see what it says. It says true because this is also true, this is also true. So the complete expressions gives us true. But if I were to change this AND to an OR, let's see. So now it will print true if any one of these is correct. Now both of them are correct. These both are correct, the expressions that we've written. But now let's do this. X is equal to y. No, that is not correct. But this one here is correct. So what should it print? It should print true because one of these conditions is correct. So this is why we use OR keyword. But if neither of them are correct, let's say x is greater than 4 or x is greater than z. So both of these are not correct. It says false. This complete expression is false because either this condition nor this condition is correct. And then we can also do the third one, not. So using not is slightly different. We say x is not 3. Okay, so we're saying x is not 3, value of x is not 3. Check this statement and it says yes, you are correct. X is not 3. Now it is also giving us a warning, but we can ignore this for now because you see it is saying that not equal to is not is kind of the same thing, but for understanding we can do it like this. We say x is not 4. We want to check this statement. It says false. No, x is 4. This statement that you have written is not correct. Hence it says false. So this is how we can use this operators in our code. So now let's delete this and let's look at the input. So let's say I want to say print and let's say greetings, just starting, and I want to have an input. So let's say name is equals to input and we say enter your name please. And like this, you don't have to add this colon. I've just added it so it looks good. And let's go ahead and print two things. Print the type of the variable and print the variable itself. Okay, so let's run the code. Control F5. So it says greetings and it is stopped here. It is asking me to enter the answer to this question. So you see whatever we wrote here appears here. So let's say I want to say my name is John. I write John and hit enter. And then it says okay, the value entered is of type string and the value that is entered is John. Now we can also change it. Let's say enter your age please. Now let's run the code. And it says again greetings. It says enter your age as we have changed it. Now I can also enter John. It won't give me an error because the default input type is string and I've entered a string here. Now if I run it again and it says okay, enter your age. Let's say I say 21 and I hit enter. Again this variable is of type string. And this value is not an integer, it is a string value. I cannot add it to another number. It will simply show an error because you cannot add a string to an integer. So if I say name plus 21, so I want to add 21 years to an age. So I do this and I say my age is 21 and it says okay, I cannot do this plus operation on a string and an integer. Now what I want to do is I want to convert the input age into an integer. So what I do is that I say int this and this. So it says, okay, this is the input, but I want the input as an integer. Now it is also wise to change our variable name here. Why? Because variable name should be descriptive of what you are storing in it. So we are storing age, so you want to keep it age. Now let's run the code again. So it says greetings, enter your age. Now first what I will do is try to not enter an age and enter a text. So I say John and I hit enter. It throws an error. Okay, for invalid literal for integer. It says okay, John is not an integer. I cannot accept it. So it just stops the code. If I run it again, it says enter your age. Let's enter 21 and I hit enter. So now it has converted it into a string, and I when print the type of the variable age, it says now it is an integer. And now since it is an integer, I can add it to another integer too. So I say 21 plus 21, it says 42. Yeah, that's fine. So this is how you can take inputs from the user, and how we can use print statements, and how we can use type statements to um, check our variables. So that's all for this lecture, and hopefully it was an enjoyable lecture for you. Again, I would suggest that you go out there, start writing your code, try out different things and see how they work out. This will make you much more proficient in coding. And yeah, that's all for this lecture, and we'll see you in the next one. Up till then, goodbye.